Welcome back to the Mrs. IE427 channel, everybody. The storage container that we had delivered a couple of weeks ago, we kind of wanted to give you all our impression and our insight after having purchased one of the 20-foot storage containers. There are a lot of companies out there advertising on Facebook, on Marketplace, and Craigslist. And we just want all of you to go in with eyes wide open that those may not be your best alternatives. So as we arrive at the shop this morning, I just want to talk with any of you that are thinking about getting one of these containers about some of the pitfalls that we ran into when we started looking for one of these containers on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Okay, so what do we mean? Why aren't those your best alternatives? Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you what our experience was. When you go into Facebook Marketplace, as a for instance, there are a lot of companies, individuals actually, advertising that they sell these storage containers in all different sizes, 20 foot, 30 foot, 40 foot, all the way to, I think, 53 foot storage containers. And a lot of them have a pretty good price. I mean, we were looking around at some, we were looking at the 20 foot variety, and we were seeing prices all the way from about $2,100 to $4,000. So we figured we'd probably be spending somewhere in between there. We figured right around $3,000 for a storage container. Now, we ended up, when all was said and done, having a storage container, a 20-foot storage container, and it was, what do they call it, wind and weather tight. So luckily for us, it was raining on the day they delivered it, and so we were able to walk inside and make sure there were no leaks. So that was a plus. But we had ours delivered for $2,800, and I thought that was fair. We had other offers on Facebook Marketplace, and some of those were, like I said, as low as $2,100. But every one of those, shipping wasn't included, or delivery. And so that quickly adds up, because most of these containers are coming from port storage. For us, that is like Long Beach Harbor. And, Long Beach is over an hour away from the Inland Empire. And so by the time you have a container delivered, that's going to add, $200-300 to the cost of the storage container. So you got to keep that in mind when you're negotiating your deal with whoever you're buying your storage container from. The second thing is Mrs. IE427 and I are not here to give any of you financial advice. However, we like to pay for most things cash, meaning either cash, as in green cash money, or with personal check or something to that effect. We like to make sure that we have the money available before we purchase things, because we do not like getting overextended or just extended at all on credit. It's too easy to use a debit card. It's too easy to use a credit card. Like I said, we're not here to give you guys advice. You should all be grown-ups and understand how to manage your money. However, every single one of the experiences that we had with these marketplace, Facebook Marketplace dealers for these storage containers had an issue taking cash. Now, I'm going to start with the ones that just flat out said no. I contacted them, told them what I wanted it delivered, and that we would take care of moving it. All they had to deliver it was on the driveway over at the other shop and dump it, and we would have it moved into the back. I already had arrangements to have our tree guys with their heavy equipment pick the thing up and move it in the back. You guys have most likely seen the video of those guys doing that, and they did a great job. So we just wanted it dumped on the driveway. So most of these companies have a rollback trailer or truck that they bring the storage container to your property, and they just tilt the bed of this thing up, and the container slides off, and boom, it's on your driveway, or it's somewhere on your lot. So after negotiating with a couple of companies, I realized that no one wanted to deal in cash. They all wanted to be wired money, which I was not too hip on. They wanted a credit card. Now, at least with a credit card, and if you pay off your credit card at the end of every month, good for you. We're not that disciplined. That's why we try not to use credit cards. It's too easy to just get in that cycle of interest, and we just don't like doing that. So after going through a couple of these companies and having them say, oh no, this is the only way we do it, the first question I asked with every company from then on out, and I was doing it with both Facebook Marketplace vendors and with Craigslist vendors, I would start out with, we want to buy a container, we want to pay cash, is that a problem? And so we were able to quickly weed out a bunch of these online suppliers of these storage containers, because they just flat out said, no, we don't take cash. However, I did get 2 or 3 of the companies, I think one was on Craigslist and 2 were on Facebook Marketplace, that said, oh yeah, we'll take cash. But then they would send an application. And I caught on after the first application, filled out the application, and of course, there's a spot for a credit card. And so I wrote in cash and then emailed the application back to them, to which they said, we'll only do this with a credit card or a wire transfer. It's like, well, I specifically asked you if you would take cash, and you said you would. So if you're planning on paying cash for a storage container, you're going to have to be a little bit more creative. So we never did follow up with the last 2 companies because we just knew it was going to be the same thing. Now, Mrs. IE 427 and I are in our local neighborhoods all the time because of what we do. We're in every neighborhood of the city that we live in because we do construction, and most of our work is within the 3 cities surrounding the city we live in. Well, Mrs. IE 427 had to take some hazardous waste, some paint and some other stuff to what's called the hazardous waste roundup at our local city yard. And while she was having the items recycled, she noticed a couple of storage containers. I think there were like 5 or 6 storage containers in the city yard. They all had a name, and they all had a phone number, a contact phone number, on the sides of the storage container. So whoever did this was really smart. Mrs. IE 427 wrote down the number, and she called, and she got a live person. She actually talked to a live person. Remember, everybody I talked to on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist was all through email or text. Or Messenger on Facebook. None of them would give you a phone number. You couldn't talk to them. You couldn't talk to a live person. So when Mrs. IE 427 actually got a hold of someone, she immediately said, do you take cash? The gal said, yes. When would you like it delivered? The only thing that we had to fill out was on the day that they delivered the container to our yard, basically. We had to fill out our name. They already had our address, and we had to sign for delivery, and then we handed the money over to the driver, and that was it. So what I'm telling all of you is, if you were in the market for one of these storage containers, and this may not be true all over the country, but I know this is our experience, start looking around at companies that are using these storage containers and see if there's a number listed on the side of the storage container. Now, at the city yard, these storage containers had been painted really nice, so they're like all one color, and they had taken all the shipping numbers off the ends of the storage containers, and then they had stenciled their company name and their phone number on them. I think this was a really smart move on their part. So they probably worked a deal with the city yard saying, hey, we'll give these to you at a reduced rate if we can advertise our company name on the side. And it worked perfectly. They were really easy to deal with, and true to their word, they took cash. And we didn't have to deal with the credit card, stuff or wiring money or anything else. So I think that's going to do it for this one. if you guys are enjoying the content here, I know Mrs. IE427 would really enjoy it if you guys would do the like, the share, the subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.